But ultimately, we choose how we feel. We choose what we think, feel, say, and do in each situation. They become, the impetus for us to make that decision, to make that choice, but we're choosing. Now, the problem is most people say, well, I didn't choose to feel upset. I didn't choose to feel angry. And I'll say, you didn't consciously choose that. We're not consciously making those choices and decisions, but the fact that we're not doing it consciously doesn't mean we're not doing it. And if I'm reacting from my habitual conditioned response to that person in that situation, I'm still choosing. It's just a habitual conditioned response. The whole point of all of this work is to bring all this to our conscious awareness. So in each moment when we're challenged, we remember, oh, I have a choice here. I get to decide. I get to decide if I'm going to feel hurt or defensive or angry or sad or rejected. I get to choose that. They don't make me feel hurt. They don't make me feel defensive. And as I change how I see myself, I change how I'm going to react, how I'm going to respond in that situation. So we can consciously and deliberately change who we think we are, how we see ourselves. So when we're confronted with that person who usually triggers us, so when we're challenged by that situation with which we used to have a meltdown over, we can make a different choice in the moment. And when we make a different choice in the moment, we have a different experience. Does it take work? Yeah, it takes work. But think of all the work that we put into the old way of being. Think of how many times I repeated to myself all those negative affirmations, all those negative thoughts and beliefs. So, if it takes a little effort to change that, to reprogram, we talk a lot about reprogramming, that's the price of having a new life. If you want a different life, it's going to take some work. Now, what I talk about when I discuss responsibility, I like the 3 A's: awareness, accountability, and action. Again, I don't have a lot of time to go into this. This is in chapter 2. Awareness, we want to be aware in the moment of the effect of our behavior on ourselves and others. We want to be accountable if we've done something that's caused harm to another person or to ourselves. And then we want to take action to make things right. We talked about the difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is what I talked about a minute ago, that habitual, conditioned way of reacting when somebody comes into our field of vision or into our lives in a situation. It's the reacting versus responding. When we respond, we bring some conscious intention to the moment, some conscious awareness. We have a plan. We're aware of what we want to achieve in that situation. So we're responding versus reacting, which is where we're not thinking. It's that old program that just automatically takes over. And responding usually requires some kind of a pause, just, stopping the train, even if it's just for a moment. And that's how we have a different experience in the moment. I recognize now that admitting when I've done something wrong, when I've done something harmful, it's an act of self-love. When I take responsibility for that, because in the past, I wouldn't take responsibility, but I would feel the guilt and I would feel bad about myself and I would feel shameful. And if it involved another person, I could never interact. I could never have true intimacy with that other person because I felt bad about what I had done to them or not done or whatever. So by admitting, by telling the truth, by taking responsibility, it's an act of self-love because it frees me from that shame. It frees me from the self-hatred, the guilt. Most of my life, I thought power was having power over other people, getting other people to do what I wanted them to do. I realize now that true power is having power over myself, being able to consciously and deliberately choose what I'm going to think, feel, say, and do in each moment. That's true power. What I used to call power is really coercion, manipulation, deception, force. That's not real power. So recognizing that true power is the ability to consciously choose and/or change my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions then what I come to is true power is having power over ourselves. And what this means is, number one, no one but us can choose or change what we think, feel, say, or do. Next, we can't choose or change anyone else's thoughts, feelings, words, or actions. And number 5 on this list, our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions are the only 4 things we need power over to create the life that we want. Now, what this means is essentially I'm powerless over other people, and other people are powerless over me. External events, circumstances, conditions are powerless over me. Now, I didn't know that, and most of my life, my feelings were dictated by what I thought was going on around me. And if I thought the situation was pleasing, I felt good, and if I thought the situation was not pleasing, I felt bad. But what I want to emphasize here is that I am powerless over other people, meaning I don't cause what they think, feel, say, or do. I don't have that kind of power. So if somebody's upset, most of my life, if I thought somebody was upset, I thought it was my fault. That's like codependency 101. Now, I may have a responsibility to that person. My behavior may have been inappropriate, and I can be accountable for that. But I'm not responsible for how they feel. Because I could do the same thing to 2 different people, and one person would be upset, and the other person wouldn't be. Well, I thought I caused people to feel the way they feel. How come they're not feeling the same? I don't make anybody feel anything, good or bad. The flip side is other people don't make me feel anything, good or bad. They don't have that kind of power over me unless I give them that power, unless I choose to make them responsible for how I feel, which I love to do because then I can blame them when I don't like what they're doing. True power means if we're doing it, we're choosing it. Nobody makes me, just like nobody makes me think or feel anything, nobody makes me say or do anything either. If I'm doing it, I'm choosing it. Now, we talked about the difference between reactors and creators. Notice that it's the same word. Reactor and creator, they're the same word, but when we see correctly, when you move that C, we move from the former to the latter, and we have the ability to consciously create our lives. So I can either be reactive or I can be creative. But if I want to be creative, I got to take responsibility for my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. If I don't take responsibility, then I'm reactive. I'm a reactor. And I become like a billiard ball, reacting to what everybody else is doing, never in charge of my own feelings, never in charge of my own life, always waiting for the next conflict or the next problem or the next positive interaction with somebody to decide how I feel. True power is when I can feel joyful, I can feel safe, I can feel content, and the rest of the world is going crazy.